Well, welcome to Spotlight on the Collection. My name is Lori Pickell Stengel, and I'm the Executive Director for the McLeod County Historical Museum here in Hutchinson. And this year, we are focusing on a new theme at the Historical Society, World War I. And it is the 100th anniversary of the U.S. entrance into World War I. So this is a great opportunity for the museum to take a look at our World War I collections and bring all of those pieces out and show them to the community. And we are currently in the process of designing a new display layout in the entrance of our gallery space for World War I. And we're hoping to have that debut here next year in 2018. And so we hope you will follow along with us as we learn more about World War I. And today's Spotlight on the Collection is going to focus on service flags. So to give you a little context, a little background like we like to do, World War I actually began August 1st, 1914 in Europe. But the U.S., as we were kind of in an isolationist mode, we didn't enter or declare war against the German Empire until April 6th of 1917. And due to the fact, well, a lot of factors, but due to one major factor that we were kind of in an isolationist mode, our army really wasn't prepared, and we had to have a draft. So I have a picture up here behind me. These lovely gentlemen, according to our records, they are getting ready. They are inductees into World War I. They were drafted, and they're actually in Chicago, Illinois. But this is from the Lester Prairie collection, and it was an anonymous donor. But it shows some men who are actually in military uniform, but the vast majority of them are not. And one of the things that we were getting ready here on the home front before we sent troops that actually made it in the summer of 1918 is because we were gathering a lot of those supplies and getting ready to send them over there. And I'm hoping to have a couple more programs where we talk about some of those specifics with the draft and some of the documentation and things that we actually have from our collection, and soldiers' letters, which is a big part of what we're going to be doing over the next 2 to 3 years with this World War I theme. So many things to learn. But today I decided to focus on the service flags, and the service flag, which was originally called the Sons in Service flag, actually started by a serviceman himself who had 2 sons who were drafted and ended up going into World War I. So according to my sources, the banner was designed in 1917 by United States Army Captain Robert L. Quiser or Quiser, I'm not sure which way it's pronounced, of the 5th Ohio Infantry. And it was to honor his 2 sons who were serving in World War I. But it quickly was adopted by the public and by the government. And on September 24th, 1917, an Ohio congressman read into the congressional record the following: the mayor of Cleveland, the Chamber of Commerce, and the governor of Ohio has adopted this service flag. The world should know of those who give us so much for liberty. The dearest thing in all the world to a father and a mother is their children. And so this really kicked off what became and is still used today, what we call a service flag. Of course, back then it would have just been men who were serving in the military, so that hence the name the Sons in Service flag. But later was changed to service flag as people also wanted to honor if they had a husband or a coworker, and it spread. Now the very first one, we'll show a picture of up here of the very first service flag was actually more flag shape with a rectangle shape with the blue star in the middle and the red around the outside. We actually have one from the museum's collection. It's quite delicate, so I didn't bring it to show today, but I have others. This one here is a rectangle from our collection, and it's a Blue Star Service flag that was actually belonged to Frank Merkavicka, if I'm saying that right, or Merkavak. And he actually served in World War I. And, but the rest of them, it seems like they all kind of took on more of a long vertical hanging style. And one reason why that happened is because when it started getting promoted. Now this is from the museum's archival collection. We have a lot of newspapers and things from the World War I era. I'll take it out of here. Touch it with my grubby hands. Shh, don't tell my collections manager. So this is a neat piece, but it has the service flag on here, and this one is dated November 17th, 1917. So it says specifically on here, hang out this flag. If a member of your household is in a United States uniform, cut out this service flag and hang it in a window. Add a star for each additional member of your family in the service. So it has one star, but it has two additional stars there that can be added to it. And so this particular issue, we're not sure if, you know, how widely that was circulated, but this beautiful intact one came from Charles Mott, who served in World War I. And we're not 100% sure if this one in our collection was cut out, but this is an example of an actual paper service flag that someone hung up in their window. And you can see it's faded from the sun, and it has water stains on it as well from the condensation, probably from the window. But this one was actually used by a family. And our records, World War I paper flag, was red but has faded with blue star in the middle. This flag was put in the window when a family member was in service. Blue if the soldier was alive, and gold if they had been killed. It has the original tape also attached to it that hung it in the window. Unfortunately, though, we don't know which service member in McLeod County this was used to honor, but obviously hung in that window for a very, very long time and was used. So this is kind of where the service flag, or the Sun service flag in World War I anyway, really took off nationwide. And there was no regulation at that time on the service flags. And so they were made out of lots of different materials. Paper, which I just showed you. But the most typical, once it really took off, was one like this. And this is made out of wool. And typically that would have been what they would have had available to them and what they would have used. And this particular one in our collection, it's in really good shape. And it was to, let's see here, which soldier? A U.S. Marine in honor of Mrs. L.W. Gilbert's son, Gideon, who served in World War I and was a U.S. Marine. He was stationed at Mare Island, California, Galveston, Texas, and it was customary, of course, at that time, for each member of the family enlisted to be shown by a blue star. So if you had 4 sons serving, you would have 4 stars. And so these would have been hung out, and unfortunately, when you received the news if a loved one or a son passed away, the blue star would stay, but it would be covered up with a gold star. Hence, now a lot of people probably are familiar with Blue Star Mothers group and Gold Star Mothers groups. And the Gold Star Mother, of course, lost a son or loved one in a war or conflict. And a Blue Star would mean that they were actively serving. Now, in World War I, there was a lot of different things that developed. And people used these flags, they hung them up, but also corporations started using them. And businesses got into the act, and it really took off during World War II. So this actual flag from our collection, we're not 100% sure it's where it hung or if it was World War I or World War II, because they were so widely used and its popularity really grew by World War II. But this would have been what would have been called a organizational or business service flag. So churches, if they had men that were serving, would put it out and have a blue star representing each and every member, or a corporation or a firm would put a blue star out as well. So you'd see these hanging in downtown businesses. And of course you can tell they're much larger than the other small ones. And this was before there was a lot of regulation on size and who could hang them up. So a lot of things as this trend and way to really honor people serving in the military as it grew, they came up with new ways to symbolize service. So after just a few years into World War II, they came up with some new symbolism. So as I said before, the blue star stood for a serving soldier, and a gold star put over the blue star would have represented a fallen soldier. But they started adding things like a red star. So a red star would have represented a soldier who was missing in action or who had been captured. And the most recent that we've seen in popularity is a silver star. And a silver star represents a soldier who has returned home but who has been wounded in action or disabled during their service. You also see some other variations. We can show you one up here that has a gold chevron. So right below the stars, that lovely little chevron V. And as far as I can tell with my research, the chevron represents service in a war zone or in a foreign, overseas foreign war. And each chevron, which sometimes there's multiple chevrons listed, each chevron would equal 6 months of service, or a deployment that they've been involved in. And the gold chevron, of course, relates to them being either wounded or dying in battle, or blue chevron just meaning that they are currently serving. So very complicated, and a lot of new things happening with these as we move into World War II, but really getting its start in World War I. And so of course the government had to put some regulations together for usage of these and set some rules. So the manufacture of these flags is only allowed by specific government licenses in the territories under American jurisdiction, and the same section of the United States Code that limits manufacture of the banner also regulates its size. So the size ratio now is set, where some of these earlier ones, they were all different sizes, and basically the person who was making them got to decide what size they were. So it's a 10:19 ratio of the flag, and when displayed with the national flag, the latter should take the place of honor, and if the flag's displayed is different in size, then the national flag should always be larger than the service flag. Blue and gold are the only colors specified for use, but like I said, silver stars are becoming quite popular now. After World War II, the use of the service flag really fell off. And we actually have none in the museum's collection after World War II until we get to more current conflicts. When 9/11 occurred and we had soldiers entering into Afghanistan and Iraq, we saw a resurgence of that, and people using these flags to show their support and desire to support military troops overseas. And now a new flag is being introduced in these more current ones, which we can show you a picture up here of the rectangular flag, the red banner around the white, and the blue star, and we support our troops. We support our soldiers, and a lot of businesses have used that particular one when they have a military serviceman or woman who works there. Or some have been using it as lapel pins. We've seen it reproduced in all sorts of manner, none of which are specifically regulated except for the flags itself and the pins, but there are some protocols to go, and I won't get into all of those. But on April 21st, 2010, the United States House of Representatives passed House Resolution 855, which was a standalone resolution recognizing the Silver Star Service Banner and making May 1st Silver Star Service Banner Day. So it's official that the Silver Star has joined the ranks of the Blue Star and the Gold Star, representing those who had been wounded in battle. And as we've seen with these last conflicts, we've had a lot of service people who have come back with major disabilities and injuries, and so it's a really nice way, of course, to honor those and the sacrifices that they have made for us. We have a picture here of a service flag hanging in a window, and this is pretty much how they would have been hung and used. And a lot of mothers, daughters, in World War I, World War II, use this symbolism to form organizational groups. So the Gold Star Mothers became an organization that rallied around support for their sons, for their troops, not only in World War I, but in World War II. The Blue Star Mothers of America were incorporated in Flint, Michigan in 1942. And it was declared by a joint resolution in the U.S. that on June 23rd, 1936, that the golds on the last Sunday in September would be Gold Star Mother's Day, observed every year in honor of these women who had sacrificed ultimately. And September of 2012, Barack Obama issued a presidential proclamation commemorating September 30th, 2012, as Gold Star Mothers and Families Day. So these flags have really played a huge part in helping to not only honor our soldiers, but to continue to tell their stories. We are so thankful that people have thought to donate these pieces to our collection, and we have quite a few more. Like I said, some of them are a little on the fragile side because they were hung in windows for long periods of time, and sun can damage these pieces, but they really are breathtaking and chilling to look at when you understand the representation behind each one of them. We're going to be putting together a display this next month at the museum, so showing the different types of service flags that we have at the museum. So I hope you will come and visit us sometime at the museum. We are at the intersection of School Road and Highway 7, right across from Burger King. And not only the service flags on display, but also other great information and artifacts from the history of McLeod County soldiers during World War I. So I hope to see you at the museum.